Since the reveal of gameplay information and the trailer that we got to see last night at the Xbox Showcase, DMZ has been a hot topic, and quite honestly, pretty much wherever you look, people are talking about it. But details are scattered all over the place, and I want to bring a bunch of further information to you guys that's come to light over the last 48 hours that makes me even more excited for DMZ's return. And it's information that you might not know because, depending on where you looked, you'd see and hear different stuff. So here's me bringing a bunch of stuff together that you might have missed about the next version of DMZ. Drop a like on the video if you go on to enjoy it, and consider subscribing to the channel if you're excited for DMZ and you want to see more content from me. Okay, let's start off with a pretty big element, a pretty big talking point so far, PvP and PvE. Now, DMZ is not going to have a dedicated PvE mode because, according to the developers at Infinity Ward, quote, PvP is our bread and butter, end quote. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't have PvE elements in it, though. The game is built for a wide variety of playstyles, and PvE is embraced in many areas across the Hajin map, including story missions and dynamic operations, which are PvE focused. Missions in those two modes won't ever assign you a task that asks you to take out enemy players. A brand new feature coming to DMZ is the truce flag, which from my understanding can be thrown in an engagement to let an opposing team of players know that you want to be friendly. And of course you can make use of proximity chat to speak to enemy players and maybe work out a deal where everybody can stay alive. A dedicated PvE mode would come with greater challenges in terms of game development and likely needing all loot and progression made in a PvE mode to be completely separate from the main PvP mode. That way it wouldn't distort and warp the in-game economy. There's also no plea system in DMZ anymore, that's being removed, but there is still assimilation, which means trios can welcome an additional player into their squads to max out at 4 players in total. So instead of sending out a plea this time, there will be ways for alive players to revive fallen enemies if they so choose. This is all part of the melting pot that DMZ creates because it's all about player choices. But to reiterate, there is no dedicated PvE mode, and it's my understanding there are no plans to add one. Next, we're going to discuss some additional elements of the forward operating base that I didn't know about until the other day. It's more than just your out-of-raid home, it's actually a social space. You're going to be able to physically walk around this area and visit the different elements like the Gunsmith for building your weapons, your 3D printer for crafting items from materials that you've extracted from previous raids. There'll be a vendor who will sell you items that you can buy with in-game cash from your wallet. You'll be able to go over to your dedicated stash and other things like the bounty and boss boards. Your FOB is going to upgrade and change as you progress your DMZ rank and earn more XP. Plus, the really cool element is it's a shared social space for you and your squad. So when you party up, your squad mates will then appear in your FOB and they'll be able to walk around and get themselves ready for the next raid as well. This essentially eliminates the menu simulator issues of other extraction shooters because instead of flicking through menu after menu to sort things out, you're going to be physically there in your FOB sorting things out in first person. I think that makes for a much more immersive experience. It means you're still part of the DMZ world, and I think it kind of sets it apart from other extraction shooters that are on the market right now. Within the forward operating base, as I mentioned, there's a bunch of different spaces dedicated to different elements of DMZ. One of those is the Gunsmith. You'll now need to purchase weapons and attachments using in-game cash, and the more effective the weapon or attachments that you buy, the more expensive it's going to be. So it seems like the insured weapon slots from the current DMZ beta are going to be a thing of the past. You're going to need to explore the Hajin map and extract different weapon manuals in order to then use those in the Gunsmith, which means initially you're going to have to rely on extracting weapons directly from the exclusion zone if you want something specific. Apex attachments will be active in DMZ, but those will cost a lot of cash, as well as other more desirable attachments like suppressors, extended magazines, and more powerful optics. You'll be able to equip 5 attachments onto weapons in DMZ via the Gunsmith, but there are rare 8 attachment weapons to be found on the Hajin map, and those are going to be exciting to extract. There's also a specific weapon vendor in your FOB, and you can use that to buy specialized items from a rotating limited selection. I think it's going to change like every day or so. These weapons then go directly into your stash, and apparently they're best for when you need a quick turnaround, you want to dive back into another raid really fast, or you don't have the cash to fully spec out a weapon in the Gunsmith. But you can take these purchased weapons from the weapon vendor into the Gunsmith, and then you can attach them with different attachments if you want to. There are boss and bounty boards in the FOB as well, with the boss board allowing you to pay in-game cash for the location of a particular lieutenant in your next raid, so that you can then beeline right for them and get them killed straight away. Although there are specific hunt towers across Hajin as well. You climb up them and then interact with a terminal at the top, and you'll then be given the nearest lieutenant's location as well. Now, the reason that you want to do this kind of stuff is because these lieutenants drop their own dog tags, and exfilling with these dog tags helps tick off bosses on the boss board. But those dog tags will mark you on the map for enemy operators to see, just as taking enemy operators' dog tags would do as well. And then the deploy location within your FOB. That's going to give you so many more options than the DMZ beta ever gave you. Here you can infill with your squad, whether that's a trio or a duo, or you can matchmake solo if you want to. DMZ is going to prioritize your squad size, and then it will matchmake you into lobbies with those squad sizes. So if you do want to play solo, you will end up in a solo lobby, which is awesome. Something you couldn't do in the previous version of DMZ. However, things do go further. You can use the paid infill system to choose how you'd like to actually enter the map, whether that's quietly on foot, fast and loud in a helicopter, or even a large military plane. That sounds awesome. Oh, and if you want to infill with a ground vehicle, you can do that as well now. Devs on the COD pod mentioned that you can choose an LTV to infill with. You're just going to have to pay a lot of money for it. Next, I've got some more details that I've gleaned from different sources about DMZ's Hajin map. It's larger than Al Mazrah. Yeah, you heard that right. Hajin is larger than Al Mazrah, so plenty of room to explore, and the map will support at a maximum 20 teams of 3 players, meaning 60 players at any one time can be on the map, just as it was in Al Mazrah in the DMZ beta. The map has got lots of different secret hidden pathways for you to discover. There's a bunch of different traversal challenges that you'll need to perfect in order to make your way to certain locations. And there's even POIs that have hidden entrances that you can only get to by swimming underwater. Different POIs will have different levels of AI protecting them, with locations like the prison complex and the military base being heavily guarded as they contain more valuable loot. Now, speaking of loot, you're going to have to use the environment around you to understand where different types of loot are going to be. So, for example, if you go and loot a police station, you're going to find lots of tactical gear and combat items. If you go and loot a hospital, you're likely to find medical supplies. And if you go to the abandoned neighborhoods where people used to live, they'll be stocked with basic materials, and you're going to need those things to craft stuff with your 3D printer back in your forward operating base. Radiation gear, that can be found in fire stations, and you'll need that if you head towards the melted down reactor. And money is more likely to be found in vaults and cash registers dotted around the map. This more grounded, logical placing of supplies and loot is designed to reward players who learn the map like the back of their hand, but also to make sure that if you get caught up in the PvP action, you know where to go at the drop of a hat to get what you need. Bandages and light medical gear can also be found in bathroom medicine cabinets. Around the Hajin map, as I've mentioned, there are enemy bosses to fight as well as low-level grunt AI. These AI and bosses will drop their own weaponry when you kill them, and many of those weapons will be damaged and have unstable weapon components on them. These can then be extracted and modified back in your FOB, and you'll want to do that because the weapon handling is affected by these broken parts. And going further than that, enemy lieutenants will be holding uniquely customized weapons featuring different attachments and camo finishes, which is pretty cool. So think of the chemist in the DMZ beta who had the M13B with that cool radiation yellow blueprint finish. More stuff like that. I've touched on this in my previous video, but I wanted to emphasize it a bit further here. There will be enemy convoys roaming around the map transporting cargo and military technology. This is obviously built into the set dressing of the map to make it feel more alive, but you can interact with these convoys and you can capture the gear that they're transporting. They'll likely be heavily guarded and they will pose a threat, but if you attack them in the right way with the right equipment, you'll be able to loot some nice items from them once you've stopped them. These convoys happen on the ground in vehicles as well as through the skies in helicopters. Certain roaming commanders will also hold valuable loot on their convoys, and the Juggernaut, he's now using depleted uranium rounds, which can wipe out vehicles and helicopters in a single strafe, so you're going to need to approach with caution. The devs have said that some commanders and convoys may need you to work together with other enemy operators just to bring them down. Okay, moving on now to a few nuances that I missed the other day across several other gameplay elements of DMZ. And firstly, we'll talk about the MIA system. If you don't know what this is, it allows you to rescue an operator that you died with and bring them back into one of your active duty slots. You just have to pay to bring them back. And a high-level operator is going to cost you a lot of money to buy back. What I didn't realize, though, is that you can actually buy that operator back at any time. There's no time limit on making that decision. So if you don't have enough cash in your wallet to, say, buy back a level 10 or level 11 operator, you can take another one of your operators, deploy into Hajin, do loads of high-chance cash spots, extract that cash, maybe do another raid, do some dynamic ops to get cash from them as well, and then you can buy that operator back when you've got the money. Now, I'm a little bit torn on this because whilst I love the idea that each operator has their own individual progression, having infinite time to rescue them when they've been killed, that seems a little bit too lenient. So maybe like a 48 or 72 hour timer to rescue them might be a bit more balanced. But hey, I haven't actually played the game yet, so I've got no idea if that's a good suggestion or not. Just seems a little bit powerful to me. Not sure if that's a great idea. Drag reviving is coming to DMZ. This we got to see during the trailer last night. One player gets downed, and after the second player kills off the attacker, they move over to revive them. As the animation starts, pulling out the syringe, the player drags the downed body into the lift and into cover, giving them a much safer space to finish that revive. This is something that we've seen in Battlefield 6 recently, and it's been a great feature over there. So quite honestly, yeah, just steal that stuff and put it in DMZ as well. Good mechanics shouldn't be gatekept, and I'm glad DMZ is moving on from fully stationary revives. So many times in the DMZ beta, I've had to stay off a teammate, drop smoke on them, move in for the res, step off again because the smoke finishes, re-smoke them, come back again. It's a little bit in, out, shake it all about. So I'm glad we're moving away from that system now. Player health pools in DMZ will be maxed at 300 HP combined with your base health and a 3-plate vest. 3-plate vests will be the max armor level that you can obtain. However, Mr. Dalek JD, on his travels to visit Infinity Ward in LA, found out that the team is working on introducing new types of plate carriers for DMZ. In the DMZ beta, we currently have the standard 3-plate, we then have the tempered vest, the ghost vest, the comms vest, and the medic vest, all of them leaning into different playstyles. Now, Dalek says at the event that he went to, he was told at least one new vest is coming, called the Ballistic Gel Plate Carrier. This is a regen vest that regens your plates over time when it doesn't take damage, lessening the need for you to slot in plates manually and potentially leaving you with extra plates to hand out to your teammates. Dalek also revealed that there's another rare plate vest that you can craft, and it comes with a helmet as well. That helmet will protect you from being one-shot downed by certain sniper rifle loadouts in DMZ. That plate vest sounds hella powerful, and I want it right now. As I've already mentioned, the matchmaking in DMZ will prioritize your squad size, which means solo players will have solo servers. Incredible, amazing. However, there are a couple of additional elements that solo players are going to massively benefit from this time around. There's a new item being added to DMZ that supports solo play. It's called the Tourniquet. This item will allow a downed player to get back up in a wounded state if they don't have a self-revive equipped. You can use the Tourniquet to stop yourself from bleeding out, and it will revive you and allow you to get up and move off again with reduced health. This reduced health value has been confirmed to be 100 of your full 150 base health. You'll then need to use a medical kit or a bandage to bring your health back up to the full 150 HP. I really like this idea, a final option when you're bleeding out to potentially rescue yourself, and for solo players, this could be a game changer. The AI in DMZ is pretty harsh, and oftentimes it will take all your plates off without much concern, so having a Tourniquet as a final revive could be the difference between you extracting or you needing to rescue your operator later with cash. However, this does raise the question, is DMZ moving to full manual healing versus the auto regen that we see in the DMZ beta. A couple of times in the trailer last night, we saw the player using bandages to regain health after gunfights. And as I said, the current DMZ beta uses auto health regen. You don't have to bandage yourself, you just wait for the health regen to kick in. It is starting to sound like this new DMZ is going to have manual healing in it, which would be a massive gameplay change. We obviously have manual plating already, that's been a thing since the Warzone days, but manual healing, that's a big gameplay change. Something else really interesting, Infinity Ward is stating, again according to Mr. Dalek JD, that they're going to allow certain snipers to be one-shot downs in DMZ this time, but that balancing will be needed across the loot table to make sure there are items that can counter this. Certain snipers will be one-shot headshot out of the gate, but others, potentially lower power snipers, will need a specific ammo type attachment to enable the one-shot headshot capability. That's again going to be really interesting for gameplay in this new version of DMZ. And lastly, the devs at Infinity Ward are going all in on hidden quests, Easter egg hunts, and challenges that will unlock cool items and mementos in DMZ again. You guys all remember that quest that you had to do for the Serpentine Camo, right? Well, the devs want to do things like that again. Multi-match, multi-raid hunts that require you to complete multiple steps along the way in order to end up with something that few people will ever be able to do. I count myself as one of the lucky ones to unlock the Serpentine Camo in DMZ. It's almost impossible to do now. So if something like that exists in DMZ again, you best know I'll be on that in a flash. According to Dalek, the team is also working on ideas for how they can implement more longer-term challenges in DMZ that reward dedicated players. I really can't wait to find out what they're planning. So I've got to say, this little roundup of additional DMZ info, it's got me even more excited. I genuinely lost hope of DMZ ever returning until late last year when we got that leak that it was returning. And my goodness, it does sound like Infinity Ward has been cooking. And there will be actually a full DMZ reveal happening in the future. It got tweeted out on the Call of Duty account last night. We all thought that that trailer we watched yesterday was the big reveal, but apparently they're planning something else in the future as well. So look out for that. Once I get information on it, I'll make another video for you guys. And thank you very much for watching. Appreciate you, and I'll catch you soon.